First of all, true confession, it's actually Saturday and not Friday. But here's the deal. Feisty Fridays. I record them on Fridays. It's what I want to do. And yesterday, our building had construction going on, and we were not supposed to have construction. We were told there was going to be construction, but only on Thursday, and it's right above my head. And so yesterday I was like, oh yeah, it's great. I'll sit down, I'll record, and then like constant hammering. And I was like, do I record with a hammering? Do I not? And then I was like, you know what? No, I'm not doing it. I sort of like on principle was like, I want my work to be wrecked because our building manager did not tell us that there would be construction today. So anyway, so I'm coming to you on Saturday, but I'm feisty like a Friday. And I'm recording this on Saturday morning before my next newsletter drops because I want to talk to you about resistance, because that's what I wrote about last week. And last week I was in Ottawa, and that was an amazing trip. But what I was thinking about while I was away was this idea that resistance is a part of leadership, that, you know, having people disagree with you and or resist your ideas doesn't mean that you're wrong. And also that when you are doing things right, and I use air quotes because like what's right, right? I mean, I think right and wrong, it's subjectively a lot more to do with the situation you find yourself in, the context that you're in. So when you feel you're doing something right and people resist you, it really doesn't mean that you're in the wrong. It just simply means that there's resistance. And you know what? Not everyone's going to like what you do. Not everyone's going to welcome the sort of information that you bring to the table. And not everyone's going to like the fact that you are championing something. And it's for a whole host of different reasons. It's the same reason why you don't like other people when they say stuff. It's just the way it is. Humans are different. We all have unique capabilities, we have unique insights, and leaders have to be able to handle resistance and not take it personally. And let's talk about that, shall we? Because it's really hard to do. Our little ego, or our big ego in my case, um, can get really hurt and offended. And so I've had to really think consciously about how to hold myself in times of resistance and not have it completely derail my approach to what I'm doing and what I care about. And this is a difficult thing to do because I'm incredibly uncomfortable when I face resistance. I have fear of not knowing what to do with the resistance, and it feels awkward to be challenged by power dynamics that I have essentially incited because I'm bringing my perspective. But what I have learned in my career is that this is normal, this is predictable behavior, and it's actually about how you prepare for it and then lead yourself and others through it that is a testament to where you're at as a professional. It's not avoiding it, because avoiding is unrealistic. These are natural experiences that we go through. So I sort of have an approach. It's kind of like a rubric that I consciously try to think about in times of resistance. It is hard earned because I have sucked at this like really bad and I haven't done well. So the first one is I work really hard to not take it personally. Now, here's the difference. I do take it personally and I am offended and it does hurt. But what I do very quickly is remind myself that this doesn't change my worth. Somebody disagreeing with me is not a worth statement on me as a human. It's just their lack of understanding, perhaps a reflection of their fear of me or what I'm talking about. And that's okay, because the resistance itself doesn't mean I'm bad. And that's been really important for me to try to embrace. Can I change my mind? Of course I can. Can I adjust? Of course I can. Do I want to? Not always, because not always am I in need of that, because the resistance is just that. It's coming from someone else and I can use it, but I don't have to think about whether I need to change my ways. But not taking it personally is an important thing to do. So remembering that it's not about my value and my worth when somebody else disagrees with me. The second thing is I have to remember to listen without taking on what might be toxic. I hear their issue, I hear their concern, I maybe even name the emotions that I'm feeling by what they're saying to me, and perhaps even ask them to name their emotions about how they're resisting me. But I don't take it as my own because I realize that the resistance is an opportunity for me to learn, but I don't have to change my entire behavior around it. And I also should not be listening to defend myself. I need to do that active listening, which is just calmly and quietly recognizing that I want to observe my emotions and listen to what they're saying so that I can have their context. It's a good opportunity for me to actually feel empathy towards their position. Because if they're resisting me, oftentimes it's because they're really struggling with what I'm saying is creating in them. And I want to lean toward that and be empathetic because it could be me next time speaking up and saying something to resist what they're saying. And then the third thing is I want to think about why I am holding my ground. So I use the example of like anchoring in the why. It means that, when I feel really strongly about a decision I'm making or a championing, whatever I'm talking about that I feel I'm right about, I want to reiterate to myself, like, yes, this is something that I care about because not every battle needs to be fought. If it's something I'm really passionate about, then that's okay. Then I can stand up to it. If it's something that I'm not super passionate about, I don't want to like make a big deal and argue just for the sake of it. Resistance sometimes comes to, I think, not officially to test us, but it can be used as a test to see, okay, do you really feel that way? I've had a lot of times where I've said something really provocative and someone comes at me and goes, really? Do you really believe that? And it's funny, in the moment, I just want to defend myself. But upon further thought, I realize, oh my gosh, they're right. I don't really care. Like, I just didn't want to lose face in the moment. That's also a normal thing to feel, but I realize I want to be anchored in what I'm saying and I want to feel passionate and secure about my decision. So asking myself, okay, do I really care about this can be really helpful because sometimes I can let it go. And then the other thing is pace the change. And what do I mean? It means that sometimes when people resist our ideas, they begin to feel less resistant if we stay the course, if we hold on to our why and we don't embarrass them, we don't go back at them, we don't incite a conflict or an argument, we just allow them to resist. And yet we stay our course. Sometimes what that does is it allows other people to garnish more respect for you. And it takes time, and so we need to give people the time and the space to sometimes catch up with us. Because for me, anyway, I'm an early adopter to change. I tend to be that visionary looking ahead, thinking, yeah, 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 it's going to be tough, but it's going to be awesome. Other people can't see what I see, and that's okay. So I don't need to like push them out and say, you're wrong. I can just say, okay, I understand you don't agree. I'm going to keep setting the course here, continue to engage with you, continue to give me feedback, and let's see. And if I can do that diplomatically, oftentimes they come around. So, I definitely feel this specifically in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. And I think not in talking with people who feel marginalized, in talking to people who have huge privilege and think DEI isn't valuable or worth it. It's in those conversations where I recognize they are resistant to the fact that I am telling them that they need to get over themselves, they need to relegate their ego, and they need to have compassion and ears to hear the diversity on our teams. But a lot of times they're just like, no, they don't want to hear it. That's something I'm passionate about. I believe that I am accurate in caring deeply about multiple voices having a chance to speak. I want my voice, with my privilege, to become a conduit for others to speak up and to be heard. And unfortunately, there's a lot of resistance to that. It blows my mind sometimes because I think, man, are we that self-absorbed that we don't recognize the privilege that we carry? But there's a lot of us that don't get it, that don't see it. So in this space, the DEI conversation, this is how I hold it. I'm not going to back down. I am not ever going to agree with those of you who believe that your privilege is more important than anybody else's rights. I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. It's a hard no from me, but I'm not going to diminish and devalue you, but I am going to stand my ground and I'm going to continue to say provocative things and I'm going to continue to question and to push at you when you hold your ground so firmly in something that I think needs to be tested. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with you and your beliefs, and there's nothing wrong with me and my beliefs. What's wrong is what we do with it. If we make people feel less than, if we question their overall worth because of our beliefs not aligning with theirs, that's a problem. That is destructive. That is cult-like thinking. That is using power and authority over recognizing the value of community and connection. And that type of leadership isn't actually leadership. Those type of leaders are the weakest leaders because what they do is they lay hold of power in dastardly ways, in ways that undermine people, in ways that control people. And this does nothing to help build up our whole human society. It actually tears it down. So I'm going to continue to hold my space as a leader who wants to always listen to feedback, accept resistance, and at the same time, recalibrate always and ask myself, what is my why? And what am I doing this for? And on those moments where I recognize, no, my why is really important, I'm going to stand my ground. And I'm going to accept the fact that leadership and my leadership needs the resistance. I need to be consistently questioning myself. I need the feedback. I need that testing so that I can anchor in even more securely into what I really believe. Because, leadership without maintenance or resistance is just maintenance. And maintenance is not leadership. Maintenance is management. And although many of us are called to be managers in seasons, I want to be a leader. I want to be a true leader who recognizes that there is much yet for me to learn in addition to other people. Much, much, much for others to learn. So that's what I was thinking about this week. Apologies that it's a Saturday that I'm getting to this, but it's still technically a Feisty Friday thought. Reach out, let me know. I'd love to continue the conversation with those of you who feel this resistance and who feel like sometimes it makes you want to stop talking and stop being the person that you are. I'm here for it. Let's get feisty. And then once we are feisty, let's stay there.